Five Nights at Freddy's has taught me to never trust an animatronic, and after this story that I was just told, I don't think I'll ever look at Halloween decorations the same ever again. So one of my followers named Richard DM'd me this story on Instagram about his scary animatronic. So he told me he's always been a huge horror fan, like the type who starts decorating in September, goes all out for fog machines, fake gravestones, motion sensors, you know, like all that good scary stuff. But he told me his favorite thing to do was collect animatronics. You know, like the ones that spirit, the life-sized Halloween ones, the ones that talk, scream, or jump when you walk by. He had clowns, zombies, witches, life-sized Grim Reapers, ghosts with glowing eyes, and he told me every single October his basement looked like a haunted house. And he loved everything about it until one year, when something happened that made him throw every single animatronic away. He told me it was about 3 years ago, the weekend before Halloween. Richard was in his basement unpacking some more decorations, getting ready to set them up outside his yard for last-minute touches. He said it was around 11 at night, his girlfriend was asleep upstairs, and he was alone in his basement just sorting through the boxes. He told me the basement was lit up by a single hanging bulb, the kind that hums quietly when it's on. He told me he plugged in a few animatronics to test them out. The witch cackled, the clown's head turned back and forth, everything was perfectly fine. Then, he told me while he was opening another box, he heard a faint whirring sound, like gears moving. He told me he looked over and one of the animatronics, a tall zombie, had started to twitch. The problem is that it was not plugged in. At first he thought maybe it still had batteries inside from last year, so he told me he bent down to check. That's when he told me he watched it turn its head slowly until it was looking right at him. So in this moment, Richard told me he just froze, half expecting it to play a sound clip or do one of its usual animations. But it didn't. Instead, he said it leaned slightly forward, its eyes, which were normally dark, unless lit, glimmered in the faint light, and then he told me it spoke in a low, static-filled voice he had never heard before. Help. Richard told me he stumbled back so hard he hit the storage shelf behind him. He told me the animatronic straightened itself, head still tilted, arms slowly raising as if it were reaching for something. He told me it said it again, clearer this time. Help me. Richard told me his blood went cold. He grabbed the power strip and yanked every single cord out of the wall. But he told me the thing kept moving. Its arms dropped, its mouth opened, and he swears it whispered, "Don't leave me down here." That's when Richard told me he ran upstairs. His girlfriend woke up to him pale and shaking, all while saying something's wrong with the animatronics. He told me she followed him back down to the basement, and when they got down there, everything was still. The zombie was back in its original position, mouth closed, eyes completely dark. He told me he picked up the zombie animatronic and it was lightweight, hollow, and showed her that there wasn't even batteries inside. He told me they both stood there in silence for a minute until she said, maybe the wiring shorted. But Richard said he knew what he heard. So Richard told me that shook him up so bad that he didn't even sleep at night. And by morning, he decided that he had enough. He told me he took the zombie apart completely, pulled out every wire, motor, and chip. Then he threw it out with half the other animatronics that he owned. And he ended up giving the rest away within the week. Now, every Halloween, Richard told me his house is dark. No lights, no music, no decorations. And he told me sometimes he still hears the sound of the gears, faintly whirring in the basement when the power flickers, even though it's completely empty down there. And Richard even told me once when he was cleaning downstairs months later, he found one of the animatronic heads wedged behind a storage box. He told me he swears when he picked it up, the mouth moved just enough to whisper, "Help."
How does the least populated state have the most disappearances? Over 20,000 people have vanished in and around the areas that make up the Alaska Triangle just since the 1970s. This is a remote and sometimes inaccessible area where people are likely to get lost and later die of exposure under severe weather. But a concerning amount of these cases are also thought to involve foul play. The small village of Nome, Alaska has less than 4,000 residents, but has still had roughly 24 people vanish without a trace. Florence. While looking into one of these cases involving a missing indigenous woman named Florence Okpialik, Up and Vanished host Payne Lindsay found some very disturbing details about her case, suggesting that something incredibly sinister might be at play in regards to some of these disappearances, especially among the indigenous population. Florence was last seen leaving a bar and heading to West Beach. This area is known as a tent camp for white or non-native men from the lower 48 states to stay during the summer gold mining season. Some of Florence's belongings, including her shoes, socks, and a jacket, were found just outside one of these tents. Payne Lindsay heard through talk in the town that the man who owned the tent where Florence's belongings were found went by the nickname of Oregon John. The man who stayed in the tent next to Oregon John said that he recalled seeing Florence on the back of John's four-wheeler driving down the beach late at night. He didn't come back until morning, and when he did, Florence was no longer with him. Payne also spoke with a woman who recalled her terrifying experience with this man known as Oregon John. She said that she'd flagged him down for a ride when he was working as a cab driver in Nome. Even though he already had multiple other passengers in his truck, he pulled over to pick her up too. And by the end of the ride, Oregon John had dropped everyone else off but her. Once the two of them were alone, he turned to her and said, "You know I could have killed you and nobody would have known about it." Another woman said that someone matching Oregon John's description had followed her in his taxi cab and pulled a knife on her. Payne has since worked diligently to uncover Oregon John's real identity and has even given him a polygraph test that he failed, but nothing more has been done in Florence's case, which is always the frustrating part of cases where they're unable to locate a body. Then they pivoted focus on another case of a missing man in Nome that also disappeared under suspicious circumstances. And it's just so scary to me that there are some places that are so desolate that someone can make a person disappear on purpose and get away with it.
My mom always yells at us about checking if the front door is locked every single night, and after reading this story, I know why she does that. So one of my followers named Aaron and Henry DM'd me this story on Instagram, and honestly, it's the kind of thing that sounds like a nightmare, until you realize it could happen to anyone. So Aaron told me they had just moved into a small house in North Carolina, tucked away in a very quiet neighborhood. She told me it wasn't fancy, but it was theirs, a starter home. And she told me they had only been there for about 3 months when this happened. So she told me it was a normal Friday night. They ordered pizza, they watched a movie, and went to bed around midnight. She told me Henry swore he locked the doors before coming upstairs. Aaron even asked him, "Did you double check the back doors?" She told me he nodded and said, "Yeah, I got it," and they fell asleep fast. But at around 3 o'clock-ish, Aaron told me she woke up. She said she didn't know why. There was no noise, no light, just that uneasy feeling that something was off. She told me she rolled over and noticed Henry was asleep, breathing steady. But then she told me she heard something. The faint sound of floorboards creaking downstairs. Not the kind that happens when the house settles at night, but this was more slow creaks, like someone was tiptoeing, like you knew there was something or someone down there. She told me at this point she nudged Harry awake, whispering, "Did you hear that?" Which he then mumbled, it was probably the cat. Except they did not have a cat. That's when Aaron told me that she knew Henry was dreaming and he was a lost cause. Aaron told me the sound came again, one slow creak, then another, then silence. Aaron told me her intuition was on fire. She got out of bed, tiptoed to the hallway, and peeked over the stair railing. She told me everything was dark except for the faint glow from the kitchen's nightlight. And that's when she told me she saw it. The outline of their front door, it was wide open. She told me she froze out of shock and then rushed back to the bedroom. She shook Henry up, telling him that the door was open. So Aaron told me at this point, Henry got up, he grabbed the baseball bat, and told her to call 911 while he checked it out. But before she could even reach for the phone, they both heard it. Footsteps running down the hallway. Not from upstairs where they were, but from the kitchen. Aaron told me Henry stepped into the hallway. His heart was pounding and he flicked on the light just in time to see a figure dart down the stairs and right out the front door. She told me Henry ran after him, but by the time he reached the porch, whatever it was had already vanished into the darkness. At this point, Aaron told me she was shaking, still clutching her phone, when Henry then came back inside, slammed the door shut and locked it, and that's when Aaron told me that they both noticed something horrifying. The deadbolt wasn't turned because it was never locked. When the police arrived 20 minutes later, they searched the area but told Aaron and Henry that they found nothing. No fingerprints, no signs of forced entry, nothing except for one thing. A set of muddy footprints near the kitchen doorway. They led from the back door straight to the stairs. Aaron told me That's when it hit her. Whoever was in their house had probably been standing at the bottom of the stairs, listening to them sleep. And if she had not woken up when she did, they might have not even realized it until it was too late. So Aaron told me the police told them that it could have been a break-in attempt, maybe someone testing houses to see which one was unlocked. But Aaron told me that Henry said something that still didn't make sense. The pizza box from earlier, it was gone. Whoever was in the house hadn't stolen money, they didn't steal jewelry, they didn't steal furniture, they didn't steal clothes, they didn't steal shoes. They just ate and left. Now Aaron and Henry have cameras all around their home. Every night before bed, they walk through the house together, checking every single door and window. And this is why Aaron told me that you all need to check your doors if they're locked before bed.
This jinn wanted to marry her. It happened when Aisha was in 10th grade. She had exams, and every evening after Maghrib she would go to the roof to study. In front of their house stood a massive banyan tree, old, wide, and oddly silent. One evening, something changed. Aisha came down from the roof and didn't speak a word. From that day, she started behaving differently. Whenever the adhan was called, she would either scream uncontrollably or bury her face in a pillow and start crying. It didn't stop. Day after day, she grew worse. Her screams became more violent and her reactions became more unnatural. The family grew desperate and finally took her to a sheikh. The moment they reached the door of his home, Aisha began shrieking, thrashing, refusing to enter. But the sheikh began reciting verses of the Quran, surahs along with prophetic du'as. As he recited, she slowly calmed down. Then she collapsed unconscious. Aisha woke up the next day, confused but calm. The sheikh warned the family that the jinn hadn't left willingly, and so it will return. The family wasted no time. They packed up and moved houses that very same night. But the jinn wasn't finished. It came back. This time, the family was prepared. The sheikh had been called as soon as the jinn returned. Aisha began shrieking, behaving violently, crying profusely, and then the jinn spoke through her. It shouted, "Hadi li wa ana batzawwajha," which means, "She is mine and I will marry her." But the sheikh didn't stop reciting verses of the Quran. The jinn resisted, pleading, screaming, but eventually it was forced out. Since that night, Aisha hasn't had another episode. Now she rarely leaves the house after Maghrib, but she is safe and stays cautious by reading her Quran, praying punctually, and reciting her jinn protection du'as every day. Click the link in my TikTok bio or my YouTube description to get a guidebook of jinn protection du'as that will keep you protected from jinns and evil eye every single day. And follow me for more stories.
Part 2 on how me and my best friend almost got kidnapped in middle school at our local mall. So anyways, where I left off, we're walking through the desolate parts of the mall. Like, we're like some type of kidnapper's fantasy at this point. Escalators are closed. It seemed like a ploy from the simulation, but we were like, la la la, let's go to the empty escalator. Anyways, we're walking to the desolate part of the mall which had the stairs to go downstairs to Bath and Body Works, and all of a sudden we're hearing some squealing, okay? At first, it's not that I ignore my surroundings, I'm just not hyper aware, which now at this point I am in this society, but a middle school, you could have hit me with a bulldozer, I would have got back up and been like, oh, is that a meteorite? Like, I had no concept of shit. So I'm hearing like squealing, and I'm like, by default, just ignoring it, because I'm like, who the fuck's squealing for me? Nobody. So I'm still going la la la. We're in the desolate part of the mall at this point, and we're just walking. Once again, there's nobody fucking there, and it's like squealing of agony. I'm continuing my conversation, my drama is good, and all of a sudden I look over and it's a man staring at me and extension cord. And yeah. Now granted, this man, he looked a little roughed up. He did. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not trying to shade him, but he didn't, how do I describe this without being rude? He didn't necessarily seem like somebody who was homeless or like a straggler, somebody panhandling at the mall. He didn't seem like that, but like, he didn't seem like somebody in like Gucci and Louis Vuitton. He was just kind of like in the middle, but like a little more on the rough side, okay? Some baggy pants, a little bit older gentleman, okay? At first, the noises were just squealing, and then he like darts eyes and looks at us after we hear him squeal, and then he approaches us really fucking. I don't even have time to think at this point. Also, in middle school, I had no fear, right? I would wear ripped jeans at about 6 a.m. to go into school. So I had no fear about anything, especially nothing on me. So he's approaching us fast, and I'm like, okay, like what now? Like now if somebody approached me fast, even if they're not squealing, like if I was in Walmart, someone approached me fast, oh bitch, I'm running the other way. Like I don't want any, but he's approaching us fast. It's kind of like a dog, and he just like sensed us, and he's like starting to pounce. So I just stare at him approach us, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna continue my conversation. I think I'm the only one that saw him at first, and then extension cord saw him, and extension cord didn't even acknowledge him either. Like, she just like smiled, and she was like, he's like, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. And me and extension cord are like, yeah, like, what's wrong? Like, whatever. Once again, this is me and my dumbass friend, right? My dumbest friend in the group. I love her so much. I'm the dumbest in the group too. It's like dumb number 1 and dumber number 2, right? So we're both looking, we're like, hi, like, how are you? He's like, not good at all. Like, I really need help from you guys. I really need help. And we're like, oh my gosh, like, what's going on? Once again, just to describe this man, it was an older black gentleman. It's gonna make sense, like, further in the story, just so you understand. This man looks visibly distressed. He's like, yeah, like, I just really, like, I need to talk to somebody about this. Like, I just don't know what to do. And we're like, okay, like, just spit it out, sir. Like, what's going on? Like, we're here to help. We have all the time in the world, right? We just got dropped off by the parentals. Talk to us, right? The first thing he starts with is like, are you guys from this area? And we're like, unfortunately, like, bitch, we're not from California. So we're like, yeah, like, we are. Not even thinking about, like, stranger danger. We're just like, yeah, unfortunately, sir, like, we hate this area. Like, why? And he's like, yeah, like, I'm not from this area at all. Like, I'm new to this area. Like, I just got dropped off by the bus. Like, this whole ass story. But he's like, yeah, like, before I walked into this mall, like, I was about to walk in, and basically, like, a group of younger white guys, like, came up to me and started, like, attacking me. And we're like, physically? Like, are you harmed? And he's like, no, like, not physically. I thought they were gonna physically attack me. But basically, they were, like, cussing me out, like, calling me, like, slurs, calling me the N-word. Immediately, me and my activist extension cord, we look over, we're like, oh my fucking God, like, are you okay? Like, we're stressed. We're like, that's not okay at all. Like, I've never heard of something happening in this area like that. Once again, my area is not a fucking, like, my area, the people there are pieces of shit, it's, like, in general. But, like, I've never heard of, like, explicit racism in my area like this. So me and extension cord, we're flabbergasted. We're like, what the fuck, sir? Like, we're so sorry. He's like, yeah, like, they wouldn't leave me alone. Like, they were about, like, your guys' age. Like, they were just, like, cussing and screaming and calling me all these different names and, like, blah, blah, blah. At this point, me and extension cord, like, extension cord looks like she's about to start crying. She's like, oh my gosh, sir, like, I'm so sorry. Like, we're both, like, so apologetic. We're like, we promise our area is not like this. Like, I'm so sorry. We've never heard of something like this happen. He's just going in and in. He's talking about, like, his, like, son, his daughter, about how, like, he's here, like, buying, like, a present for them, and, like, it's about to be their birthday, and somehow they just had, I don't know, a baptism, all these different things. And we're both like, oh my gosh, like, we're listening, right? Like, he's distressed. He just got literally hate crimed outside of our mall. What the He's going on and on and on. And he's like, yeah, he's like asking us questions about us, like what grade we're in, like how old we are. We're answering every question to a T, right? Like, sir, like, we're about 14. Yes. Like, we're 14. We're very stressed. And what I noticed, and I wasn't really picking up on it, but, like, when he was talking to us the entire time, he kept, like, looking back and, like, behind him, right? Like, he would just look. Keep in mind, there's nobody in the vicinity, but he just was keeping an eye peeled. And I'm like, okay, like, maybe he's keeping a lookout for these guys. And I think he saw my face kind of, like, scrunch a little bit when I saw him look behind him. He was like, oh, yeah, like, I'm just looking to see, like, if they're, like, gonna come, like, after me again. Like, I'm really stressed. I'm like, no, sir, like, you're safe with us. Like, it's totally fine. Keep in mind, we're 14, and he's no older than about 60 at this point. So I don't know how we're gonna protect him, but we're a big bandit, right? We got this. So then that conversation of the baptism that he's going to with his child, and also the birthday that he's buying gifts for at Macy's, is turning into the conversation of, yeah, like, he just took the bus, and also he needs gas money. Basically, he's like, yeah, like, I had to take the bus here because, like, I don't have any, like, gas to fill up my car, and, like, I really didn't want to go to this mall because I knew something like this could have happened. So he was kind of going into the thing. He was like, do you guys have, like, any money at all that I could get gas to save my kids and all this stuff? Now, once again, me and extension cord, we have about $20 to our names combined, right? 10 apiece and 10 apiece. Maybe I had fucking $8 and she had 12. I don't know what the breakdown was. We had no fucking money. So he's going to, like, is there anything you guys could spare me, like, any gas money or anything like that? And me and extension cord, we're like, ooh. Because once again, we have $20 combined, and we need to get a candle from Bath & Body Works. I'm so sorry, sir. So we're looking at him, and we're like, I'm really sorry, sir. Like, we don't have anything. There's no money. We're 14. His eyes kind of, like, turn another shade of, like, evil, and he's like, what do you mean you don't have money? And we're like, sir, like, we don't have any money. He's like, so you're at the mall with no money? Oh? You were just crying about being hate crimed. What's going on? So we said, yes, sir, we're just here to loiter. And he's like, So then, like, he caught himself getting, like, angry, and then he, like, calmed down a little bit, and he was like, okay, like, that's fine, like, I understand, like, you guys are young, like, completely get it. Then that kind of switched to, he was like, okay, like, I have to take the bus, like, I have to leave soon. Is there any way you guys could come outside to me, like, with the bus to make sure, like, nothing ends up happening to me? Like, that's what the new sentence was. Like, he didn't need any money. He was like, oh, can you guys, like, come outside with me to the bus stop? Because there's a bus stop right outside our mall. And he was like, can you guys, like, wait with me? Like, I'm afraid these guys are going to come back and hurt me. And we're both, like, looking at him. We're like, okay, like, yeah, like, we'll wait for you. Like, of course, whatever. So we start walking towards the exit with him at this point. Now, at this point, we're walking to the exit with him. And me and extension cord kind of look at each other, and we're like, I don't think we should be doing this, right? Once again, there were no thoughts behind our beady little stupid eyes, but like we were about to like hit the exit and we were like, I don't think this is a good idea, like leaving the mall with this random man. Hold on. So we both kind of give each other that look, and I was like, we're kind of doing that, like not whisper, like we're mouthing, like we're looking at each other and we're like, I'll give it to Extension Cord. We were both stupid as shit, but Extension Cord like immediately looked at her phone and like started role playing like a little Grammy award like he was doing, and she looked at her phone and she was like, oh my god, Dylan. And I'm like, what? Like, what's going on? And she's like, my mom's like actually at like Rue 21. Come on, Rue 21 shut down at the time, but she's like, my mom's at Rue 21. Like, she really needs us. Like, there's a malfunction in the dressing room. We gotta go. The second she mentioned the moms at Rue 21, he kind of looked at us and he was like, okay, like, you guys don't need to come out with me. Like, bye, it's fine. And we're like, oh, sir, like, are you sure? Like, are you okay? He skedaddled quick as fuck outside. And he looked angry as fuck skedaddling outside, too. Okay. Now, granted, me and Extension Cord are stupid as shit. So he runs outside, and we're just like, okay, like, that was weird. Like, we hope he's okay, though. Like, that was just strange. We shouldn't have gone outside with him. Literally, we just went back to la, right? Like, we thought on it for probably, like, 10 minutes, and we were like, okay, like, Bath & Body Works time, and didn't think about it after that at all. We spend the rest of the time at the mall, about 5 hours.
Can we show him the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
They went to both.
Yeah.
This tiny town was once the center of early Hollywood. Now it's one of the most haunted places in the Bay Area. Coincidence? Charlie Chaplin filmed here, cowboys rode through here, but now they say the only thing left walking these streets are spirits. What's up, guys? Bay Area Jules here, and welcome back to another episode of my series Boo in the Bay, where in honor of spooky season, I am unpacking all the lore behind the Bay Area's most haunted and sinister locations. And today we're going to be talking about Niles and Niles Canyon. For those who are unfamiliar, Niles is a small historic district in Fremont with a big legacy. It was once a thriving hub of early filmmaking in the early 1910s. It's home to S&A Studios, where silent film legends like Charlie Chaplin and Bronco Billy Anderson made cinematic history. But beyond its Hollywood past, Niles is also wrapped in eerie folklore. From ghostly hitchhikers on Niles Canyon Road to sightings of a mysterious white witch said to haunt the area. With its preserved vintage charm, railroad routes, and lingering ghost stories, Niles is a place where California history, classic cinema, and the supernatural all collide. Now, if you guys didn't know, I actually went to elementary school, middle school, and high school all in Fremont. The Niles district in Fremont was zoned to my high school, so I had a lot of friends in high school who lived there. I also used to work for the city of Fremont, so we would have events in Niles all the time. And my cross-country team actually used to run races at Niles Community Park, so me and Niles were pretty familiar with each other. And I definitely can say that there's just like a weird energy there. It just feels very old. The people there are, maybe I would say, quirky. They're a little something else. Now let's talk about Niles Canyon. Niles Canyon is a 7-mile stretch of road that connects Fremont to Sunol. In 2017, it was named the most dangerous road in the Bay Area, and the high death toll from car accidents make it easy to see why it earned that title. If you're unfamiliar with the road, you may be wondering what makes it so dangerous. Well, just to name a few things, it has a very narrow roadway and there's minimal shoulders. There's a lot of twists and turns and limited sight lines. During rainy seasons, there's frequent mudslides, rock or boulder falls, flooding, and debris in the roadway. And speeding is often cited as a major factor as to why there's so many accidents on this road as well. Because of its remoteness, the canyon has become a favorite site for people to dispose of bodies as well. Multiple homicide victims have been found in the canyon over the years, with some of their identities remaining a mystery. My mom actually personally knew of 2 girls whose bodies were discovered here in the 80s when my mom was in high school. But let's talk about the urban legend of the White Witch who haunts Niles Canyon Road. The urban legend goes that Lowry was driving a car late one night in the 1920s when suddenly something caused her to spin out and crash. She was killed in the accident, which took place on February 28th. As the details around Lowry's death are murky, it's surprising to some that the date of her demise, February 28th, is so specific. This date is known today because Lowry's spirit is only seen on the anniversary of her death. Now, on this date, the young woman's spirit is seen dressed in a flowing white dress. She's known to suddenly appear in the backseat of someone's car as they drive along the road. However, by the time the vehicle reaches the Dumbarton Bridge, she disappears. Now, it's widely believed that she's hoping to hitch a ride to San Francisco, where she was from. However, something seems to spook her around the bridge that makes her disappear. Now, as always, you guys know I like to hop on Facebook or Reddit to get some real-life stories of people's personal experiences that have happened in Niles or on Niles Canyon Road, so let's get into it. One gentleman commented and said, "Total skeptic here, but I have had one creepy experience in the canyon. Driving home one night through the canyon with my sister and her friend. Her friend was from Chicago and had just moved to the Bay, so she was unfamiliar with the urban legend of the White Witch. My sister and I start to tell her the story as if we had tempted fate. A blinding white light flooded my car. I really do mean blinding. I momentarily couldn't see and had to slam on the brakes. It was like a flash on a camera had gone off, but rather than being a quick flash of light, this had lingered for a second or two. We initially thought the car drove past us with its high beams on, but we didn't see anyone else on the road. We legit..."
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen. Did the window break?
So I got an email from somebody who said that they think that they met the devil and the devil wanted them to sign a contract with him or make a deal with them, and he did not do it and he suffered the consequences for it. So Caleb and his family are Mexican and they are very spiritual and they believe in God. On the contrary, he likes to mess around with astrology and tarot. He often does readings for people to connect them with the spirit world as well. So at the time of the incident, he was 24 years old and he was a nurse and he was working at an assisted living facility. Coupled with his spiritual abilities, he also can astral project. He believes that we live in a spiritual world that doubles as a dream world. So one day, Caleb is dreaming of walking around his workplace and he's just checking on residents, walking around, when he realizes that things are a little bit too realistic, right? So he starts to think, okay, I'm astral projecting at this point. So he's like, I'm gonna go home. So he's walking through the lobby because he's getting ready to go home when he sees this man sitting at a table that's like right by the door. And he said that this man was pretty attractive. It was somebody that he would normally be attracted to. He said if you could think of anybody that he would look like, it would be Nicholas Holt. The man was wearing all black. He had very dark features. He didn't give off bad vibes. In fact, his energy was very calm and inviting. So as soon as the man notices that Caleb is looking at him, the man speaks, and he's expecting his voice to sound very seductive. And in fact, it doesn't. It's very matter of fact. And he just very matter of factly asks him, do you never want to be sick again? And Caleb is a little taken back by this question because Caleb has an immune disease that's pretty bad and he is sick. He's feeling sick often. So Caleb instinctively says yes, because he doesn't want to feel sick anymore. But this is where it gets weird. The man says, you need to do 3 things for me, and you need to do it in a total of 3 days, 1 thing per day. And then he tells Caleb each of these days has a special name, and he writes down the name of the days, but the names aren't in English, so he can't understand what they say. Now, Caleb says that he wishes that he remembers the entire interaction, but he actually doesn't remember the whole interaction. The only thing that he does remember is on the 3rd day, he needed to take raw clay, needed to be from the earth. Then he was supposed to cut both of his hands open and then knead the clay with his hands bleeding so that the clay and the blood mixed together. And then he wanted him to sculpt something, and it was a figure of a man that he wanted him to sculpt. Now, Caleb says that he doesn't remember what he was supposed to do with that figure after he sculpted it, and he thinks that it was probably for good reason that he doesn't remember. Caleb remains silent as this person is explaining this entire process to him, and he doesn't remember anything that he said except for the clay thing and then the last thing that he said. And the last thing that he said was, you want this, Caleb, you need to do me one favor. I need you to remember everything I just told you when you wake up. After that, he wakes up immediately. It was like that instantly snapped him back into reality. So he's sitting there trying to think of everything that this man just said to him, and he can't remember absolutely anything. He remembers everything about the astral projection except for the ritual part. Caleb at this point is like, it's probably a good thing that I don't remember, but then he's also wondering, was that the devil that I just met? Because he didn't seem scary at all, but I knew something wasn't right with him. Like, he just had this feeling like something wasn't right with him, and he thinks that he was using his magical tools against him, meaning like the tarot tarot and astrology that he does. Now, the things that happened in the years afterwards would be quite eerie, and he never connected the dots until recently. Now, the dream happened in 2020, and the dream happened right before things got really bad in the world. So after he has this dream, COVID happens, and that's what I mean by everything bad happening in the world. And because he worked as a nurse, he was around sick people all the time, and he was his mother's caretaker, and his mother was sick, okay? So he comes home one day, and he gives her COVID on accident, obviously. And unfortunately, she ends up passing away from him contracting COVID and her getting it. So the guilt that he felt was immense, as you can imagine. By the way, that was not your fault, Caleb. Now, at this time, he's still dealing with immune issues, and he's also dealing with chronic sleep paralysis. And in these sleep paralysis incidences, he sees this man, and the man is either standing in the corner of his room or standing next to his bed. And he starts to speak to him, and he remembers one thing that he said to him was, "Can we switch places?" Now, obviously, he can't answer him because he can't move or speak, and he's obviously terrified, so he doesn't answer him. But that was the last time that he actually saw that man. After that, black shadows of tall men would creep around his bed at night. They would either be watching him from a distance or crouching right in front of his face. He says that even at one point, he thinks that he saw the Hat Man, but the Hat Man just kind of like peeked into his room, almost like if he were to check on the other shadows that were watching over him. Kind of like if he was maybe in control of the other shadows. And he said that when he would see the shadows would either be really far away or they would be kind of close, but they were never in like arm's reach, or they could never touch him until recently. Now, this part really creeped me out. In July of 2024, he's sleeping on the chaise side of his couch, and he starts to get sleep paralysis, and he cannot move and he cannot speak. And most of the time when this happens, he can kind of calm himself down. He remains calm because he's pretty desensitized to it at this point, but he said that this time he absolutely could not remain calm. He says that he sees this abnormally tall, skinny figure, and it has a really long, skinny arm and long, skinny fingers, and it reaches his arm over the chaise. He said that it looked like a dying tree branch, and then he said that it just reached his hand down and caressed his face like this. And he said there was no denying that thing was there, and it touched him. He felt it. And he said in this deep, whispery voice, it sighed and then said, "Ah, finally." Almost as if it was saying, like, we've been watching you and we've been wanting to touch you, and I'm finally touching you now, and that it was doing something to him. Like, it was manifesting something. And he would be correct in that assumption, because he wakes up screaming. He just, as soon as this happens, just jumps out of bed and is screaming hysterically. He's terrified. And he said the very next day he received results from his doctor that he had a devastating autoimmune disease and that he would never be okay ever again. He would always feel sick for the rest of his life. He said that although he's okay now, he's managing his life with medications, he can't help but wonder if this had anything to do with the devil. He thinks that that entity that touched his face was the same man that he saw in his dreams coming back to him, knowing that he would be sick all these years later, and making him sick because he did not sign that contract or fulfill the contract. So what do you guys think of this story? Do you think that that was the devil, or do you think this was just a major coincidence? Do you think that that was the same entity that he saw in his dream coming back to him that was touching his face, and maybe that was his true form? Or do you think that this was a demon? What do you think this was? Because he couldn't remember when he woke up all the things that he was supposed to do, which it's funny that the man said to him, make sure you remember this. It's almost like his subconscious was telling him, no, you cannot remember this, just in case he was going to do it, which he said, by the way, that he would never do that. And what I am saying right now is also what he said. Anytime that I get a story that like someone is making a deal with the devil or having to do with some type of deal, the devil never looks scary, ever. It's always a very attractive man that looks very put together, like that story with Jack. Like the devil, if that was the devil that he saw in Mississippi, he looked like a stockbroker. That's what Jack said. And he kind of described the same type of vibe with this man. So I find that to be really interesting. But I've never heard a story before where somebody did not take a deal with the devil and then suffered consequences for it. This would be the first time that I've ever heard that. So what do you guys think of that? And what do you think of the rest of the story? Drop all your thoughts, opinions, suggestions in the comments, please. And as always, please be respectful. And with that being said, I'm not going to do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. My first shout out is going to Rose's granddaughter, Harley. Your grandma cleans my house for me, and I absolutely adore her. And I love the fact that she came to me today and told me that you love my stories. Thank you so much. You are so brave for watching my stories. She told me that you are 7 years old. That is brave. Be careful of the stories that you are watching, because they can can be very scary, as you know, but I'm glad that you like the stories. That means so much to me. So thank you so much. I loved that today. It made my whole entire day, and I hope to see you in my comments. You can leave a comment and I always respond. So thank you so much, girly. I love you. My next shout out is going to Whiskey Whiskers. You are so sweet and you left the nicest comment. You said that you search out my stories every single day and that they help you to have a better day. That means so much to me. Thank you so much for searching me out every day. I appreciate that more than you know, because sometimes TikTok restricts my content. Like, they're doing it right now. In fact, I was even going to take a break for 3 days because of it, but whatever. So I appreciate it when people do that so much. Thank you. The support is unwavering, and I hope you know how much I appreciate you, and I appreciate your kindness and your support and that you're part of my community. Just thank you. From the bottom of my heart, you are the best, and I love you. One last thing, you guys. Tell me if you like it when I do stories better like this, or when I'm sitting in my chair and there's like a background behind me, or do you like it when it's more organic like this? Let me know, because I was tired today, so I thought I'd sit here and was just curious of what you guys thought. But with that being said, my name is Kaisa, and I tell true scary stories on here every single night that you guys submit to me. So if you're into that, hit that follow button. And I just need you to do 3 things for me. And one of those, keep sending me your scary stories. Have a safe night. What's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much. See you in the next one. Spooky kisses and haunted hugs.